tell us a little bit about, so you're starting this new influencer marketing program. I know I always get asked from other women of like, influencer marketing sounds so cool, lots of people want to get into it. So if you're building out this new program, like talk to us about like kind of what's going through your head. So you're starting this out, like how do you decide what types of influencers that you even want to work with to bring this product to the US?
Yeah, great question. So I think first you have to define your goals. My goals with Nude are completely different than my goals with BioClarity. I mentioned BioClarity, our goals as a direct-to-consumer company were bottom line sales. And so, you have to find those influencers who are going to convert, and there may be some specific things you're looking out for, whether that's, a certain type of influencer or a certain benchmark of engagement or things like that. Whereas with Nude, we're still definitely aware of those things, but our goal is more so awareness. And Nude is also retail only. We don't sell online as an alcohol company. And so there's no way to have an influencer swipe up and see that direct sale. So our goals are just completely different. So definitely focused on brand awareness, but also inspiring that in-store purchase at a later date. So if someone sees their favorite influencer drinking Nude on the weekend and then they go to the store a week later, maybe they'll recognize the box or the can in the store when they see it. So I think that's the first step in starting an influencer program from the ground up, is like really define your goals and how are you going to get there. So, another thing is like, you have to be proactive in the influencers you want to work with. There will always be people who will reach out to your brand, but you want to make sure that you're choosing those people and not just going with like the lowest hanging fruit. Like you really want to align your brand with the people who you feel are going to move the needle for you. So whether that's just aligning with your brand values or for sure that that's a powerful influencer, like that's what you want to look out for.
How do you even narrow it down though? Because I feel like, there's so many influencers. Your goal is brand awareness, so you don't have to be, I feel like, maybe as selective as you do if you're like strictly going after a positive ROI. So like where do you even you're like, here's so many influencers, is it about aligning them with like Nude's values, or is there like demographics or ages, or what are you exactly looking for?
Yeah, demographic is obviously super important, especially with alcohol. Like we need to be targeting audiences that are of legal drinking age. So that's number one. To my head. Example, like this is maybe random, but like the Outer Banks crew, like that TV show is so hot, but and all of those actors, I'm fairly sure are of legal drinking age. But then if you break down their audience, they have a really young audience. So you wouldn't want to target them. So that's number one, is you definitely want to figure out your demo. I feel like I'm personally lucky because I've always worked with companies that I am the target demo. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, well, I know who's cool. I know who all my friends follow. I know who's making the biggest impact. So I feel like maybe I've been a little bit lucky in that way. And having been in, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to point out that you said that you were the demographic, but you said something super, super important that I just want to repeat, that it's not necessarily the demographic of the influencer, but it's the demographic of their audience. And I remember learning that a lot of the girls who post on social media, their demographic is men. And you think oh, it's a girl, her followers are probably other girls, but in reality, they're typically mostly all men. So really understanding the demographic of the audience versus the influencer, I think, is what you said there.
Yeah, that is huge. And funny enough, some brands will take advantage of that. So a lot of Instagram models or, maybe swimwear influencers, we could put them in that category. A lot of them do have audiences that skew male. And so there have been brands that take advantage of that, like Bang Energy and Manscaped. They'll have female influencers market their male product because that's who they're reaching.
Yeah, I've seen that too. It's this is what I'm getting my boyfriend or whatever, here's his Manscaped, whatever. Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really important. And I think, having been in the influencer marketing industry for a few years, I've definitely honed into like, okay, I can tell like from an influencer like who their audience might be. So if they are one of those, swimwear model type influencers, or if they are, a mommy blogger and they're targeting like mostly like young moms similar to them, I think you kind of get like a better sense in being in it. And so I think that helps too.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point to make. And then, so you're measuring success right now as like brand awareness. Is there any way that you can define it, or is it just mostly like you're just tracking engagement on the content that your influencers produce?
Yeah, so right now, I think the best way to track that is engagement. We also track like feedback from our community and from, on the influencer post itself. So, if we receive like a ton of messages saying like, oh my gosh, I saw you were on so-and-so's Instagram, like that's a really big sign of success for us, because it's like, okay, our message is getting out there. Also increase in followers or increase in messages and DMs after an influencer post is another way to tell that you've gotten people over to your Instagram. But yeah, I mean, it is a lot tougher to track brand awareness. So we do have to just take, the insights that we do have access to and make some assumptions based off of that. I will say that it was really fun and like satisfying at BioClarity to see direct sales as a result of influencer posts. And so at BioClarity, we were very analytics centric, and that was something I struggled with when first joining the team. Was I didn't have a lot of experience in like paid media or tracking sales and really diving deep into the data. And so I kind of had to push myself to get there, but it is so awesome to be able to track every little thing, every swipe up, how many of those people converted, that sort of thing. And so, for anyone looking to get into influencer marketing, it is really fun to work at a direct consumer company where you can track that directly. And, gives you that sense of like, okay, I did a good job. Like I made these sales happen today.
Yeah. You can actually like see the numbers of like, I did, I made this campaign, this many people clicked on the links and used, my influencer's code. So that's pretty cool. Everything I've done with influencer marketing has typically been focused on conversion, but it's also a lot of pressure. I feel like to have, because if you don't get the conversions, like you failed. Like it's very like cut and dry, like whether or not you did good or not, which is a good thing or a bad thing, I think, depending on which way you're looking at it.
Yeah, it can be frustrating. And I mean, like you said, there are so many different types of influencers out there. And in my experience, there is a very select few who can convert super well. It also depends on the brand too, which influencers will convert for them. But like it's definitely a process to find the gems out there. And so yeah, it can be a huge challenge, and it was definitely challenging for me at times at BioClarity. And yeah, so like you said, I mean, having the goal of brand awareness can kind of like loosen up the possibilities for you. And so that's something that's really fun now with working with Nude. Is the most important piece of our influencer partnerships is like aligning with them as a person, rather than like, okay, I need you to make 20 sales from your discount code, so it definitely, there are pros and cons to both.
Yeah. My last question just around the technicalities of the role is pricing. So this is like the other good question to get is like, how much do you pay for an Instagram post? And I know it depends on like so many different factors, but what is your approach in determining, like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of the people you work with, they'll send you like a kit of like, this is how much I charge. Like, what is your approach to pricing when it comes to influencers?
Oh gosh, this is like such a loaded question. I feel like I almost shouldn't even answer it because people have so many different views on it.
You have just like maybe general advice for someone is like, maybe they're starting an influencer program at their company and they're like, someone sent me a kit and they want this much money. Like, do I pay that or not? Or like any guidance you can give on pricing and how to do it.
A rule of thumb that I learned early on, which is probably out of date at this point, but at least it can give you like some sort of starting point, is a cent per follower. So, and this is for like an in-feed post, although in-feed posts are usually more expensive than stories. So on Instagram, if I didn't say that. So if they have, let's say 100,000 followers, then your starting point would be $1,000, but that is just for the post itself. Maybe that doesn't include usage or exclusivity, so you have to work that in if you want that. But again, I mean, this was a few years ago, and so it completely depends on the influencer. It depends on the value they bring to the table. If, let's say, they are on a TV show or something, like they have some celebrity status, like that adds value to them. If they've been an influencer for a super long time and they are like a proven converter, that will add value. And so, yeah, you're probably not looking at many influencers with 100,000 followers who are charging only $1,000 anymore. But again, it's a starting point. And then the other piece of advice I have is to align the prices with your goals. So going back to goals, like if you know you have to make a certain number of conversions based off of their rate, then like break it down for yourself. So, you know, go back to how your website performs, and if you get a certain amount of conversions based on, you know, all the visits that you get, then maybe you can break that out into like, okay, how many visits do I expect to get from this influencer? And then how many conversions then would I get from them? And so you can kind of justify like how much to pay per conversion. And so sometimes that'll help you out. But at the end of the day, you have to respect the fact that this is an influencer's career. They put a ton of work into each post, and they've worked hard to get the platform that they have. And so it's definitely not a cheap way to advertise, but it can be so powerful when done right.